There are 74 million children in the United States. 1.5 million of that 74 have a diagnosis of autism. Out of the 1.5 million kids with autism, 37% of the children are Black. Hello, this is Karen Elizabeth Patton Jack's baby girl, and welcome to another episode of Karen's Inquisitive Corner. Today, we're going to talk autism. April is Autism Awareness Month. Well, I can't talk today. So we're going to talk about autism today. But before we start, I personally want to give a disclaimer. Now, I am not against the diagnosis. I believe that the diagnosis is relevant in probably 99.999% of cases. I believe doctors when they give the diagnosis. But in the corner, I want you to leave either happy, I want you to leave feeling like you can walk on water, or I want you to leave the corner with, So today is going to be one of those thoughtful corners. So let's talk about autism. I just gave you the statistics. Now, today is 1 out of every 27 children are Black, and they will have the diagnosis of autism. For white kids, is 1 out of every 37 children. So yes, there is a higher rate of Black kids with the diagnosis of autism. Now, in 1999, and I want you to look at what a difference a year makes. In 1999, statistics say it was 1 child out of every 500 to 1,000 children that had the diagnosis. But in 2000, it increased to 1 out of every 27 for Black kids and 1 out of every 37 for white kids. So let's think about this. Statistics say that they start writing statistics on how many kids get the diagnosis, usually around the age of 8. But if you keep reading, you may see where, like I did, I saw where signs and symptoms of autism may start as early as 3 years old. Now, when I was researching this, I know about the spectrum. You all know about the spectrum, but there's only actually 3 parts to the spectrum. And when you look at it, they just kind of increase. Okay, it's one level, and that's requiring support. It's another level requiring substantial support. And then the last one is requiring very substantial support. Each spectrum has basically the same diagnosis. Okay, they're repetitive behaviors. As the spectrum goes down or goes up to 3, then they just do repetitive behaviors more. It also includes communication, the lack of communication when you go all the way up to 3, or 1 just having issues with communication. It also includes being social, being able to interact with other people. Now, it's a whole lot of people that aren't social. It's a whole lot of people that don't like people or don't interact with people well. And it's a lot of people that cannot communicate. Do they have the diagnosis of autism? I don't know. So also, they say that Zaylin, my grandbaby, is level 1, which is very intelligent, very, very smart. And so, as a grandmother, what did I say? Well, why does he have to have a diagnosis of autism? Why he just can't be smart? Why you just can't say he's smart, but he got to have this diagnosis? Because I'm a grandmama and I love him, and that's what I said. But of course, statistics say on that spectrum, on that first level, kids are very, very intelligent, and they're very intense to detail. Very intense to detail. And one thing, a plus about them is they're straightforward. Okay. They're going to be honest, and they're very loyal. Now, Zaylin is 6, right? And so I was talking to him on the phone. I said, "Hey, Zay," I said, "What you doing?" He said, "I was watching television." I said, "What are you watching?" He said, "Oh, I'm watching, I don't know, Pac-Man or something." And his mama said, "No, Zaylin, you weren't watching that." And so Zaylin, without hesitating, said, "You're a liar. You're a liar. Mom, you're a liar. Gigi, Mom is lying. That is not true." I'm like, lying? He didn't say story. He didn't say you telling the story. He didn't say you telling the truth. This boy said, "Liar, you're a liar," with a smile. I said, Zaylin, do not say liar. Do not call your mama a liar. Truly something he picked up at school, but it does support, maybe she wasn't telling the truth. I don't know. But I thought, oh, wow. So he does. I have noticed that he does tell you, honestly. I asked him the other day and I said, "Zaylin," I said, "when is your birthday?" He didn't answer me. And I said, "Is your birthday in November?" So he, without any expression, without any smile or anything, he says, "Maybe, maybe not." And I just kind of look at him like, I'm not talking to you anymore the rest of the day. He's 6 years old and he's doing multiplication tables. But anyway, so, I believe what this says. I believe the spectrum, and of course, substantial support is that the repetitive behaviors go up a little bit more, the lack of communication go up a little bit more, until it gets to the third one where you're just nonverbal or you're unable to communicate at all. You can't speak at all, and you may not have any expressions. You may not be happy, you may not be sad, you just don't have any expressions. And one thing that I didn't realize is when you're at this third spectrum, you don't have sensitivity to pain. I didn't realize that. I know that there is a disease where people do not feel pain. They can be cut, they can be burnt or whatever, and they won't feel it. But this is a symptom, a sign of the third spectrum in autism. Now, in looking at this, when I was looking at communication and I was looking at the ability of not being able to interact socially, of being very smart. One of the, for level 1 on the spectrum, was being clumsy. I'm 63 and I'm so clumsy, and sometimes being uncoordinated. So I guess what I'm saying is, at some point in everyone's life, we are on the spectrum somewhere. Somewhere we're on the spectrum, and the reason that they call it a spectrum is because, and they don't say definitely this is it and it's one thing and nothing else. It's because the spectrum opens it up to so many different things that could fall under the umbrella of autism. That's why they put it on a spectrum, because what may be for Zaylin having the diagnosis may not be for somebody else, but they may be in the same level. So a spectrum gives them the opportunity to say this, 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 and it doesn't limit the signs and symptoms of autism. Now, every human being has a rhythm in their brain. And we talked about this. We talked about how the brain sends out electricity like sparks through your body. Like my brain is sending out sparks now as I use my hand, as I'm talking, as I do my head and everything, constantly doing that. But my rhythm is not the same as your rhythm. And your rhythm is not the same as somebody else's rhythm. Every human being has a different rhythm in their brain. Every human being, electricity and sparks that go out are different. There's no different than somebody with the diagnosis of autism. Their rhythm is still there. It's just a different rhythm than my rhythm. But like I just said, everybody's rhythm is different. No, not even identical twins. Identical twins don't even have the same rhythm of their brain. It's different. Everybody's rhythm is different. So we have 74 million children. Every one of them has a different rhythm. So, okay, if you have the diagnosis of autism, you have a different rhythm. Everybody has a different rhythm. You may not be able to communicate. A whole lot of people can't communicate. Sometimes statistics say that men have a harder time communicating than women. I didn't say that. Statistics say that. A lot of people don't like other people. They don't like social. They don't like to be in big crowds. They don't like to meet new people, but they don't have the diagnosis of autism. One of the things that make me say, is when you look at the statistics that I gave you in 1999, and then look at the statistics in 2000, and then look at the statistics from a Black child to a white child. A Black child has a 37% more chance of having the diagnosis of autism than a white child. Now, I'm not at all saying that that statistic is wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not saying that it's wrong. There are Black children who fall under that diagnosis. There are Black children that fall under the first level of the spectrum, the second level, and obviously the third level of the spectrum. But what I do know is that the medical institution is not always favored for Black and poor people. What I do know is that if a Black person goes in the ER and they have pain, then they may not get a pain pill as quick as somebody else. What I do know is that when someone that's not white goes into a medical institution, they may not get the same service. They may not get the same treatment. They may not get the same respect as somebody else with a different color. So that's why I tell you all the time in the corner, if you go somewhere and you are not treated like somebody else, then you need to leave and you need to tell somebody about it. If your doctor comes in and he says, how you doing? Okay, see you later. You need to find another doctor. If he does not sit down and talk to you, I don't care what culture they are. I don't care what color they are. If they do not make you feel like you are the only patient that they have, you need to find another doctor. I have been going to my doctor for years. His name is Samuel Bastian. No, he does not take any more patients, but he makes me feel like I am the only patient he has when I'm there. He may have a room full of them, a building full of them, but he makes me feel that way. He has a great bedside manner. If you are not comfortable going to your doctor and asking questions and being able to understand the answers of the questions, if the doctor is talking all up here and using all these big words with 20 letters and all that, and you go in, wanting to find out answers, but you leave more confused than you did when you went in, you need to find another doctor. The doctors, the medical system works for us. We do not work for them. Remember that when you go anywhere, to the dentist, to the ER, to your doctor or whatever, they work for you. You're paying them. Your insurance are paying them. It's not free. You just don't walk in there and get whatever you want. Your payments, your insurance pays them to take care of you. So have that ownership when you go in. If you get a diagnosis, you don't really agree with the diagnosis, go get a second opinion. Go get a third opinion. Keep researching it, trying to understand it until you understand what is going on with you. Just don't take a medication because the doctor gives it to you. Research that medication. Find out some of the side effects of that medication before you start taking it. Understand it, because doctors are human, and it's always, always human error. So I hope, what I wanted you to take away from the session today, the corner today, is I wanted you to walk away with a but I wanted that to make you think more about your health and think more about your children's self, your grandchildren's self, or whoever it may be. But start with self first, and to be more aware of what is going on as it reflects you and your doctor and the medical system. And at all costs, remember, you are the most important person in that situation. It's not the nurse. It's not the doctor. It's not anybody else. It is you. And if you don't get the respect, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel like you can communicate with not being felt that you're stupid or you don't know what you're talking about, if you leave anything medical more confused than you went in, then you need to go back in and you need to demand to know what's going on. You need to ask the questions. And if the person you ask the questions to can't answer them, then you need to find somebody that does. It is your right to do that. You have the right to do that. It's no more, well, the doctor says, it's Google, it's AI. It is too much out there where it can talk to you in layman's terms, where you can understand it. And when you go to the doctor, as I've said before, be prepared. Don't say, okay, I'm going to remember to say this. Write it down, because when you go, I have high blood pressure, but when I go to the doctor's office, usually my blood pressure is higher because I'm a little anxious about going to the doctor's office. What's my blood sugar going to be? What's my A1C going to be? What is he going to tell me? Whatever. So write it down. Always have a list of your medications, if you take medications, in your wallet. The name of the medication, the dosage of the medication. Always have that in your purse, in your wallet, because you don't know what may happen. And you will need this. Always be prepared when you go to the doctor's office about what you want to know. And it's okay to make a visit to the doctor's office after a visit, saying, our last visit we talked about da-da-da-da-da. I want to come in because I have more questions and I want a clear clarification of this and that and the other. It's okay to do that because they work for you. I love you. I hope you walk away with something today that you didn't know. But mostly, I hope after I close, you're going to be like, You all have an amazing day. This is Karen Elizabeth Patton Jackson, baby girl. And this is Karen's Inquisitive Corner. See you later. Bye bye.